Hello friends, today's topic of discussion is Hindi cinema, a tool of cultural diplomacy in international relations. In the earlier lecture on this particular theme, we talked about the kind of contribution which cinema can make in the context of having this cultural diplomacy, that how cinema is a tool of culture, and when Hindi films they are exhibited in different countries of the world, they can play an important role in terms of bridging the gaps between these countries in a way that it can become some sort of a bridge between the people as well. And when the dance and the song sequences which are associated with the Hindi films, they have found some kind of resonances or some kind of favorable response in different parts of the world. And we have seen that Hindi films, they have been exhibited in different parts of the world since a very long period of time, and especially films like Awara in 1950s, when they became very popular in Russia, and how Raj Kapoor achieved a lot of fame in that particular country. And this theme of tramp became very popular at that point of time in Russia. And this film was basically based on the heredity and environment debate, and this film became quite popular and was a hit from the commercial point of view as well in India. And we find that apart from that, in the recent times, especially the times of globalization, liberalization and privatization, especially the 1990s, we find that how India has made some big strides in the filmmaking, and how a lot of changes which have come, especially in the production, exhibition and the distribution of the films, and the kind of budget which was associated with the films over a period of time has increased, how some kind of a collaboration with other countries, where we find that international assistance in the framework of technical know-how has also come to in India. And it does not mean that this kind of technical assistance or technical know-how or exchange was not there in the earlier times, as it was there in earlier period as well. But especially in 1990s, we find that this was comparatively quite rapid in that sense. And we have seen that how America as well as China, they are the big markets in the context of films, and especially in China, we only have a very less presence, in that sense that only 50,000 Indians, they are living in China. But if you take the case of USA, then a large number of Indians, they are living in USA as well. So all of them, they form the part of diaspora. And when these kinds of films, they are being made, especially such kind of cinema from 1995 onwards, beginning from DDLJ, Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, which was a film which was made for some sort of NRI audience, non-resident Indians, and how this NRI audience could relate to such kind of portrayals, beginning from DDLJ to Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, and some other films, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. All of them, they had this kind of a feel that they were being made both for the Indian audience as well as for the non-resident Indian audience as well. So in this way, cinema definitely can play an important role, because especially when Indian films, the way they are being released in China, and they have become popular, especially Three Idiots, Dangal and some other films, how they have become popular there. So when we say that not only diaspora, but at the same time, so many of them, those who do not know the Hindi language, and despite that they are watching Hindi films, so how they are able to relate emotionally with the Hindi films. And though it is one of the factors that dubbing as well as the subtitling, they have played an important role in terms of the films reaching the audience, that how audience can listen the dialogues in their own language with the dubbed versions, and with the subtitles which are available, they can also understand the film by reading the subtitles as well. So some things which are important, that how when subtitling is being done, then all these subtitles they should be in a way interpreted or read in or made in such a way that they remain true to the original as well. In the context of the readings, you can refer to, as you can see on the screen, that these are the readings which one can refer. These are not the exhaustive readings, they are some of the preliminary readings when one is talking about Hindi cinema and how Hindi cinema can be used as some sort of a tool in the context of cultural diplomacy. And when apart from these readings, you can also refer to some other readings which are important in today's context as well, which are in the context of the general articles which are available in certain journals as well. In the context of books, if you want to refer, then you can also refer to the Encyclopedia of the Indian Cinema. And when we talk about the kind of changes which have come over a period of time in the Hindi films, and these Hindi films, for example, they have also been seen in the context of the soft power, that how they can be seen that they are playing the role of soft power in that sense. When such kind of cinema it is being exhibited in other countries, then they are attractive to them, they are also creating some kind of an impact on them, and how people they start liking such kind of films, and as well as the kind of culture which is associated with these films. And I would also suggest that how Prime Minister of India, he launched an initiative, namely the Change Within, in 2019 at the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, which aims to popularize Gandhi's ideals through the Indian film industry, using the power of films to empower people not only in India but also around the world as well. And how our films and the entertainment industry, they are diverse and vibrant in nature, and their impact internationally is also immense in that sense, and how the films, music and the dance, they have become very good ways of connecting as well as people, not as well as the societies as well. And this has been argued by our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi recently. And we also have seen that apart from the task of entertainment which is there with the films, and how films, they have raised the awareness and challenged the social issues such as the education system, the kind of discrimination which is there in the society, gender inequality, domestic violence and poverty, and how they have also been successfully promoted the Indian culture and values to the world. So we find that many of the films they have talked about, for example, Three Idiots talked about the education system, or the question of gender inequality which was there, and the domestic violence, it was being taken up in a recent film called Thappad, and how such kind of issues, when they are being shown in a sensitive manner, they have been able to raise the awareness of the people, those who are watching such films. And we have also seen that how, apart from providing such kind of messages as it has been done by some of the films, we have also seen that they have also been able to create some kind of a soft power, as Hollywood was able to do in the context of the American cinema. And so Indian films, definitely the Hindi cinema can also emerge as some sort of a soft power, and it can in a way play a role in promoting the India's unique culture. And when you talk about that how attractive the Hindi cinema has been in the context of the recent times, that the good content driven films, they are being seen and they are appreciated by the audience as well. And when such kind of a cinema which is talking about the social values, optimism and the hope, as I told you earlier as well, that how a film called Three Idiots was talking about the educational pressure, and Tare Zameen Par, for example, was talking about dyslexia, kind of a disorder which is found among the human beings, and it was not being talked about earlier. And Super 30, for example, also shows the resolve of an individual who is there to bring about that kind of a reform in the society, a thing which he could not achieve, but at the same time he wants others to achieve those kinds of dreams which they have. and another film called Secret Superstar, which was talking about the domestic violence. And we also have seen that the women's issues with regard to their rights and empowerment of women, they were being talked about in Padman and Toilet Ek Prem Katha. And they also talk about the issue of gender equality as well. And a film called Dangal, which became very popular, was not only talking in the spirit of patriotism, but at the same time it was also making some plea for gender equality as well. And there were other films like Bajrangi Bhaijaan, where it talks about that there should not be any kind of hurdles between people on the basis of religion and race. In that context, when we try to see the role of cinema and how cinema is definitely playing an important role in terms of the social issues, and these issues are not only unique to India in that sense that so many countries of the world are facing such kind of issues, and when such kind of films they are being shown at different levels in different countries, then they are also able to relate to such kind of a cinema as well. And we find that when you have these kinds of cultural connections between the audiences which are there in different parts of the world, then they in that sense can have some kind of good cultural elements or shared emotions as well. And we have also seen that how the Hollywood films, basically they have in a way provided some kind of advanced technology which was available with them to the films with which they were collaborating in that sense. And China being a country which is comparatively more restrictive in that sense, so, and on the other hand, when you try to see USA, then you will find that they are more in a way, they provide more leeway to the producers, those who are trying to collaborate with them. So both the industries are the biggest industries in that sense, Hollywood being at the first and China again at the second. And we find that some kind of cultural exchanges between all these countries, India, China and USA, will definitely help each other in that sense. And when you talk about India and China, both of them, they have been ancient civilizations and they have a rich cultural heritage as well, and both of them, they focus on the traditional values as well as the sense of patriotism and the beliefs which are there, and a number of philosophical concepts they also share in that context. And we have seen that how the power of Hindi cinema is also driving India as a soft power, and it is not only promoting the Indian culture, its songs, dances, values, beliefs, but also drawing huge revenue as well. And it can also mend ways the kind of problems which they had with China. And when both the countries, they are not only collaborating with each other in the sphere of cinema, but also we find that China is the largest partner of India in terms of trade. And films are not only some sort of art form, but they are also important in the creation of soft power, because it is strongly affected by a country's culture, ideology and the institutions as well. So we find that the way Chinese, they have accepted the Indian films, it is one of the first steps of crossing the cultural bridge, and how people, they can be connected, and the ties between India and China could also improve given the political, territorial, economic and diplomatic friction between them at different points of time. So we have seen that how Chinese audience, many of them, they may not have understood Hindi, but at the same time they have in a way very receptive to the Hindi films. And when you talk about the various kinds of opportunities which are available, then the potential future of Indian cinema in China, then we find that the increasing global cultural exchanges are happening, and the rising demand for the social responsibility is there, and a more inclusive market environment, in that sense that market is trying to incorporate different kinds of elements, and the greater spending power of the Chinese consumers, and the well-established reputation of prior Hindi cinema films as well. And we also find that there is an increasing online access, and the enhanced film format, they are some of the overarching opportunities for Hindi films in China. And we have also seen that how the kind of content which has been made in the recent times, where not only the glamorous song and dance sequences, but the expensive dresses and the sets, bright colors, how they are being used, and the elaborate depictions of the Indian traditions and history, all of them, they have in a way fascinated the Chinese audience. And we also have seen that if more opportunities are created for the filmmakers as well as the distributors, then Indian films, they will be able to do much better in China, in a way that when one is arranging better scheduling time for the Indian films, that they do not clash with the Hollywood films, or in a way making more efforts in the context of reducing the piracy, which is one of the things which in a way reduces the kind of profits which the films they are having. Then they can also implement the strategic marketing in that context, and some kind of a better film subtitles, they should be there, the translations should be such that they are more important from the framework of the film quality. So we find that how Hindi cinema in a way can represent the rising power and the future hope of the Indian society, and how Indian film stars, they have been popular in so many other countries. And when films they are shot on different kinds of locations, then how these locations also become some sort of centers where the tourism also develops, and many tourists, they come to various kinds of locations where a number of films they were being shot, and even they get popularity, these areas they get popularity, that such and such film and such scene was shot at this particular area. And so in a way the economy grows through generating the box office revenue. And we have also seen that how Indian cinema, or Hindi cinema for that matter, because Hindi cinema is just a component of the Indian cinema, and Indian cinema is comparatively much wider, that we have so many regional cinemas, and how these regional cinemas are also monolith in that sense that the film industry in the south of India, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, and all Malayalam, all of them, they are doing exceedingly well at the national as well as the international level. So when we talk about that, when all these regional as well as Hindi, all of them, they will be united, they will have some kind of a pan-India presence in that sense, then they will also be able to influence the other nations in that sense. And we find that how both countries, China and India, they share in a way, they have been neighbors, and geographically they share more than 4,000 kilometers of borders, and they also share more than 2,000 years of cultural relations as well. So from that point of view, having good relations with China in that sense will be important for both the countries. And we also have seen that despite all these kinds of challenges, more Hindi films, they have been released in China over the years, and in 2018 10 Hindi films, they were being released in China. And we also see that how despite some kind of recent tensions, how trade has also increased. And Economic Times 2022 has given data that they are trading to the tune of 125 billion US dollars. So we find that how when they will have these kinds of film festivals, etc., India-China Film Festival 2018, which sought to strengthen the people-to-people and deepen the cultural understanding as well. And how some of the joint projects, they have also been undertaken in that context, that there was signing of an agreement between India and China regarding the collaboration, and 3 films, Wan Zhang, Buddies in India, and Kung Fu, all of them, they were being produced. And how these films, all of them, they premiered in China, where the box office collections for them accounted for nearly 99% of the total revenue, because the prominence of Chinese producers was there in this film, and how the projects, they were also being biased in favor of the Chinese corporations. So Indian domestic market did not enjoy the result of these co-productions because it was not made available to them. And we have seen that especially during the times of liberalization. Films like Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, all of them, and thereafter some others also which came. And all these films, they were able to create some kind of an impact on the NRI audience. And when such kind of productions, they were taken to Europe, America, and other countries of the world, they were able to make some kind of a mark. And especially with regard to Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, this film nearly, if we see the time that it was continuously running since 1995 when it was released, and for nearly 30 years or maybe 27 years it was continuously running in one of the cinema halls. And 1990s was also a period when big developments were taking place. So such kind of a relationship between a father and a son was unheard of. And but this film basically was also for NRI audience, and the kind of openness in terms of relations of a family which was living in London, and how in the later films we also find that such kind of portrayals, though they are keeping the traditions and of the family intact, but at the same time there is some kind of comfortability in the relations which was being portrayed in this film. And we also have seen that though China does not have that kind of a diaspora, and not many Indians are living in China, it is being argued that only 50,000 Indians, they are living there. Despite that, how Chinese, they have taken to the Indian films, Hindi films for example, and they have also been popular in Afghanistan as well, where this kind of a resolve around fighting injustice, which is omnipresent in the contemporary society in Afghanistan. And the portrayal of Indian cinema or Hindi films, they have touched some sort of a raw nerve in them, and the larger than life representations of the Hindi cinema heroes, which is in the sharp contrast to their stark reality, it provides them a vicarious opportunity to immerse themselves into the grandiose real life fantasies. So chart busting music is another additive element in the Hindi films. And when we talk about Hindi films in the framework of USA, we find that how over a period of time the relations with USA has also improved, and it has also beginning to realize that India is the largest democracy in the world, and it is also founded on the relationship of a commitment to the democratic principles as well. And there is an increasing cooperation in the international organizations like G20, and how trade between India and USA has also expanded in the recent times, reaching almost 150 billion on the goods and services in 2019. And a film called Slumdog Billionaire, when it was made in 2008, it was made by Hollywood, but it was the portrayal of some sort of a Indian life. It began on this kind of a popular show in India, Kaun Banega Crorepati, and how the life of a person through different trajectories was shown in this film. So this film was basically criticized on this ground that it was trying to show Indian poverty, though in a different kind of a light, but it was really talking about it, and how the life of an individual is basically shown through this particular show. And we also see that it won a number of Oscar awards as well. And when you talk about the various kinds of diasporas, we find that in USA and UAE, we find a lot of Indian diaspora, and films, they have been popular there, and how when such kind of films, they are being shown there with the kind of collaboration which is also there. So from that point of view, cinema has definitely made an important contribution. And to conclude, I would like to say that the impact of Hindi cinema has been immense, and not only from the economic, cultural point of view, from the point of view of diaspora, but also in the terms of playing an important role in terms of shaping the public opinion as well. So thank you very much.